Welcome to the Seek Wilderness Podcast, a platform for outdoor adventures and storytelling, for gaining basic knowledge of hunting, fishing, and woodsmanship. A place to find inspiration to go do epic stuff this week. Seek Wilderness.
All right, we're live. Welcome back to Seek Wilderness Podcast. John, what's going on, dude?
How are you, man? Doing good. Doing good.
Yeah.
How you been?
Good. How's your weekend going?
It's kind of low key. I think I re-injured my rib a little bit after jiu-jitsu on Saturday, so I've just been like hanging around with the kids.
Right.
Obviously did church today, Sunday. We're recording this on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then same thing, just chilled out.
Cool. I walked the reeds with Archie this morning. Didn't find any sheds, but found a lot of good signs, so that's a good deal.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, hey, today we got a very special guest, a New Jersey scent company that we've heard a lot of good things about. I know Greg uses them a lot. I've seen Greg use them on scrapes, and the preorbital glands, and everything else. But today we got Gerard Sauchelli from the central New Jersey, northern New Jersey area. Gerard, how's it going, man?
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Welcome.
Good.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely. Anytime. Glad to be here.
Good deal. Well, hey, why don't you go ahead and, for people that are outside the area, that maybe in the Midwest or Michigan or, some of the other places we have a lot of listeners, why don't you go ahead and tell people, I mean, everybody in New Jersey knows your stuff. If you've ever been in a store in New Jersey, you pretty much see your stuff on there, and all the local hunters are always putting stuff up with your brand of scent line. Why don't you tell people about you and your background a little bit, Gerard?
Hey, everyone. How you doing? I'm Gerard Sauchelli. I'm the owner of Rack Getter Scents. I'm a retired fireman out of Newark, New Jersey. I did 25 years there. I'm also a former Marine, and I opened the company up about 9 years ago. This will be my 9th season, and it's been a heck of a road. It's been a heck of a road. It's been a wild ride, and we're really have expanded in the last few years about different products and different things. And, we are a full line company where we do, deer minerals to feed to calls to deer blocks. Now we got into a full line of deer urines and synthetics. We always have to cover the synthetics since New Jersey went full synthetic. We're doing a ton of things, and we're always trying to make things a little bit different, a little bit, how should I say, different than what's going on in the whole industry world. And guys are really innovative nowadays, so you always got to be on top of your game and doing different things.
Yeah. I was curious when Jersey changed the playing field a little bit to go to all synthetic. Were you doing a lot of that before that happened, or
I was doing very minimal of it. There were some guys that I work with that are in Virginia that were requiring me to have it. So I was making it, but I was making it on a really small scale, and it was mostly to benefit guys in other states that had worked with me. Everybody has some friends somewhere on the councils or whatever else. And I kind of got tipped off that it would be happening 6 months before it. So I really got into it a lot bigger because I knew it was going to be coming. And sure enough, it came up. And, we could go on and on about what causes CWD and how it came out and how it came around. I mean, we could go on and on forever. But I'm just not a believer of urine-based lures are a cause of it.
Agree. Yeah.
That's three of us. That's three of us on this call.
And the way I see it is, New Jersey is a baiting state, and I'm not trying to cut my own throat because I sell a lot of bait in New Jersey and deer blocks and everything. But, if you're going to kind of say what draws multitude of deer to one spot, it would more be a feed than a lure. So when you have only a small amount of people doing lures in the state and a ton of other companies and every store and every farmer that are selling corn or whatever, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to shut down the urine based of it because there's nobody screaming and yelling. The all screaming and yelling will come from hundreds and hundreds of people that are making a living off selling corn and just about everything else under the sun.
Yeah. Well, hey, taking it back a little bit, why don't you go ahead and tell us, we know your whitetail stuff, but why don't you go ahead and we got other seasons that are getting ready to come in all over the country here in the next couple of months. And I think most of them, two of your big products product lines, could probably, be relevant here in the next couple of months. Why don't you go ahead and tell us like your whole line, like, at least like the 3 lines that you got and all that kind of stuff, your main lines. Why don't you give us a little background on that?
Besides being a really big whitetail hunter, and I have been since I'm really young, I'm a big trout fisher. I love trout fishing. So I'm always trying to do different things with trout. I make like a little bait that's called skein, and skeed's the inside of a salmon or trout or whatever you can get. It's attached to the skin, looks like a bunch of little eggs attached. So I cut them in little pieces and I put them on hooks and sell them in different scents and flavors. It's a really good product. They work really, really well, especially in Jersey, because we just have rainbow trout. They don't have really a variety like they used to due to X, Y, and Z reasons. Another thing you could go crazy with, but we have a basic line of just rainbows, mostly 80%, 90% just rainbows. So they work really good on rainbows. And then I got into, years later from bait fishing, I got into spinners. So now I'm making a full line of trout spinners, kind of based off what I've been doing over the years and what I know. And, trout fishing is just like, it's just like my whitetail. I take it serious. I love doing it. And I like to make things that really, really work to catch them, on a consistent basis. So I realized, hey, here's a full line of trout spinners. What colors are the best in New Jersey for rainbows, which are copper or bronze colored? So I make now a full line of bronze colored. I make your traditional golds and your coppers, but those 3 have been trout killers, but the bronze really work really well on rainbows. And I've caught, I don't know how many fish 3 pounds and above over the last 2 or 3 years on them. So I know that they really work. So anybody out there that's looking for trout spinners, please check them out. They're a really good product. And turkey calls, turkey calls, I love making mouth calls. I don't make pot and peg. I have a couple of guys that'll put them together with some woodworking stuff, and I have them done and etched real nice. But I make my mouth calls. I don't buy them. There's a lot of companies that'll go out there and buy them and, and put their labels on them. I don't do that. I make my own. I've taught myself almost over the years with some YouTube and some help from some other people on what to get and how to go about it. And over the last few years, I've been making them myself, and they've come really good. And I've expanded the line into that because I've gotten better at it. And it's just been now like, it's like, what else could I do? What could I do to be better? What could I do to change the game? And most companies for years before I started this were just scents and lures. That's all they dealt with. I came in and I wanted to have a full line scent company. I went with, I'm gonna make scents, then I'm gonna make lures, then I'm gonna make them in pastes and polymers and gels, and then I'm gonna get into other things, whether it be feeds or minerals. So I really expanded the business because I wanted my name and the company's name all year long, not just a 5 or 6 month period. So that's why I started turkey calls and trout fishing. And again, it's into things that I love. It's into things that I really have appreciated over the years and that I really enjoy myself. And that's what I try to perfect is what I do. And this has been instilled in me since I'm born. Like I grew up in the field. I grew up in the biggest city in New Jersey, but I was lucky to have a family that hunted and fished, whether they fished up and down the Jersey Shore on the coast, for all kinds of stripers and fluke and everything else, crabbing, or we trout fished, or they were turkey hunting or deer hunting. I just got lucky to be in a family that's what they did. And that's where my whole passion for everything, started, was at a young age.
That's great, man. And then, like you said, if you're sticking with the stuff that you're using, that's how you perfect it, how you do some research and development on your products as well, because you can do it yourself. You probably have like I know Greg, he uses some of your stuff, and so you probably have a pretty good web of guys out there that are helping you with the research and development on the stuff as well.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people, obviously, through social media, and the friends you meet and the friends that you really click with. Hey, you send them stuff and you let them try it in the Midwest. And if it's working out there and it's working here, and you got a good product on your hands, and you kind of really try to bounce it around. I have friends in Florida, which are like, deer aren't really that prevalent there. There's areas that have good amount, but nothing like the northern areas. But you still want to test it out everywhere because you got people from everywhere buying it. Yeah. So I'm lucky to have people in Florida, people in Georgia, people in Iowa, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. The list goes on. And when you have that, it's really gold. That's gold.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah.
And even like we talked a little bit before we came on about, tarsals and things like that. And I have people sending me glands from other states to make things for them or to try it out for myself and to see if this is the same type of animal. Does it work the same way? I've been really fortunate with that. We're making a lot of friends in other states that have been, really helpful.
That's awesome. So how the heck did this all, like, how'd you even get into it?
Again, it stems from when I was young, because we used to use scents and lures as a kid. And when my grandfather used to see us bow hunting when I'm 13 and 14 with a Tinks bottle, he would lose his mind. I make better stuff than that. And you guys know what the hell you're doing. And what the hell is that crap going to do? On and on and on. And lo and behold, we got crazy with it. We were using the old 35 millimeter canisters and filling with cotton balls and putting it on the ground and, trying to see what this stuff would do. And, when in the 80s, the early 80s anyway, everything was changing so fast, and you had every single thing was new, and there wasn't the same idea twisted into 10 different ways. Everything was new on the market. Everything was changing. You didn't have cameras back then. You had a string and a time on it. There was all kinds of cool stuff happening then. So, Tinks was just a company that was out there. So we were using Tinks and I'll never forget, I was probably 14 years old hunting out of a wooden stand that was probably 8 feet off the ground. I went out in the morning, I put out this canister, maybe 30 yards, and I never shot really 30 yards at the time. And lo and behold, sunrise comes up, and here comes this little buck, come right up and put his nose right in it. And from that point on, I was just hooked on scents and lures and what they do. And it just became part of my hunting experience through decoying. Everything that I do is really has always been revolved around that.
That's awesome. I think more guys should think about, if we think about trappers and stuff like that, they use scents all the time. You know what I mean? Like, scents are a major thing with
those
other
are the guys.
Others. Yeah.
Those are the guys. That's where it all started. It all started from guys who used to use glands and how they used to trap. And that's where it started into deer. That's how it came about, was trappers. Trappers are the guys. They're the main lure makers. They're the biggest, most information always came from those guys. Those guys have always been, the best, because they do it with all animals across the board.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. So this year, one of the reasons why I reached out to you to get you on and talk to you about some things is, on my journey here, I've been hunting the reeds in South Jersey, along, tidal waters and stuff like that for years. Kind of trying to expand out to the Pine Barrens a little bit. I did a little winter bow hunting down the pines. One of the things I'm noticing is, I'm originally from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, big woods. It's really kind of hard to pinpoint and get deer to put yourself in the right position when it's an expansive piece of woods. So one of the things that I've been doing, I've been out there scouting a lot down the Pine Barrens, and marking scrapes, marking rubs, marking everything that I possibly can, transition lines, and just loading up my mapping app to, just to have a bunch of things that I can go to when the season starts. But one of the things I personally don't bait, to each person, to hunt in whatever way they want to hunt. That's none of my business. But I don't personally bait. But I would like to, maybe try to, maybe get something to attract deer, to maybe to get inventory over there, and and stuff like that. What would you recommend for a guy like myself that doesn't necessarily want to bait, but he does understand the importance of scents, and something just to make maybe some of the areas that he's got some of the scrapes that are already out there, just to kind of make them a place where deer want to kind of use them a little more and frequent them a little bit more.
There's so many different ways to go about it, from building an area up. You got to have really good cover, and where you hunt it's tough down there. Jersey's tiered into 3 different pieces. It's a mountainous region is the north. Then you get into the central area where we're here, and it's more plainsy, it's more farmish, where you have more flat plains and things like that. And then you get south, and once you hit south, everything changes. Everything changes. You got salt water down there. You're different with different dirt, different styles of, clays and everything that are in the dirt. So there's a lot of different ways that you could go about it. Obviously, one is, some guys have a lot of success with making mineral sites. And necessarily you can hunt over them later on in the season, and you don't have to bait. So there's I make like an igniter. It's like it's a salt lick in a bag, but basically it's scented really heavy, so it attracts deer for a long distances. And by using a cup of it, you can attract deer just by a scent. And it doesn't have to necessarily have to be baiting, but it could be like a granular form where you just throw it out there. Now, the deer comes downwind of it, he picks up it, he just comes in to investigate. It's more like a curiosity more than anything else. They may be looking for food, but not finding it, and that'll allow you to give you your shot. So there's a lot of different ways. What I have found that over the years is, and I've had people even ask me, is can you make a mock scrape product that would have pine in it? Because they had so many pine trees that had scrapes underneath it that they're relating 1 and 2, the pine scent along with wanting to make a scrape there. And it is partially true. There is something with the ends of pine trees that are hung low that makes whitetails want to hit it. Is it the pine scent? I would think so, because I see them hitting a hell of a lot of cedar trees, and they start to get that orange top on them from hitting cedar trees, and a lot of that kind of stuff goes on. But pine trees, I do find a heck of a lot of scrapes underneath it. I have about 2.5 acres behind my house that are, that's mine, and I have a row of pine trees. And sure enough, every year there's a ton of scrapes underneath them, right in my backyard. So I know that something with pine is unique when it comes to mock scrapes. So putting a couple of mock scrapes in those areas, trying to get deer to frequently come through there to check on them, is definitely something that I would do, along with adding buck lure. You want to add buck lure, and not just urine, which a lot of the companies are just bottle companies of urine. Glandular lures, glandular. So in Jersey, obviously we are a synthetic state now, so you can't use the glandular lures that I would that I would prefer to. So you have to do different things to mimic that. And that's in the area where we would be now, like synthetic gels and synthetic polymers and things of that nature, and synthetic preorbital, which wasn't easy to figure out, but I managed to do it, and that came really good. So I was really happy with that product. But yeah, if you have little openings inside those woods where it allows deer to have some sunlight to hit and get in there and hit those edges of the pines, it's a really good areas to hit. And those are something that mock scrapes will work really well. And this year I'm going to be coming out with a new product. I'm not going to release it here, but wait till we get a lot closer. Maybe we'll do another one of these in a couple of months down the road when I'm ready to release it. But I'm going to release a new pack type product specifically designed for mock scrapes for synthetic and urine based lures.
No, that's great. My grandfather was a trapper and a deer hunter, and one of the things he always would say is, in the summertime, you go into spots, and he always said it was always hemlock for us up there. Right. He said, you go to a hemlock, get yourself a salt lick, just a regular old cow salt lick. He said, you get at the feed store, wrap it up in a cheesecloth bag or a cheesecloth. Yep. And tie it up and hang it up in the branch, and the deer will hit that. He said the deer won't be hitting salt. Once fall hits, they're done with salt basically by then.
Yeah.
He said,
I always use like the middle of August where I try to tell guys, hey, stop buying mineral. I have guys order it from me, and I'm like calling them up going, listen, that's not going to work right now. I actually call them up and I'm like, listen, that's not working right now. And they're always like, thankful. Oh, I appreciate it. I'll let them pick up the igniter because it's so scented that, it's good. But the mineral, I try and shut it down by the middle of August. I tell guys, hey, you're not doing anything right now. You're just throwing stuff out there and throwing money away unless you're going to save it. That would be the best. But that's what I started doing now is I make these basically kind of what you said, but they're in more of a sack. And it's my igniter in a sack. I call them drip bags. And what you do is they're in a plastic bag. You pour water in it. You fill it up. You leave them in there for about 20 or 30 seconds to activate it. You take it out and you hang up the bag. And what does it drip? It's dripping a salt lick.
Yeah.
Exactly what your grandfather was doing with the cheesecloth. Only what I found specific bags that work really well with it. And I put it out, my first one in January, and I didn't go back there for like a couple of weeks. And then I went back and checked it out, and there was a hole dug 10 inches deep by a foot wide. And I was like, wow, I'm really onto something with the bag. So from that point on, I put a couple more out, and I was getting the same everywhere. So I was like, no, this has got to be a product. So I basically turned it into a product from that kind of style of what you talked about with your grandfather.
That's great. That's great.
And I've sold so many already. It's been like, wow, like I'm really shocked.
Yeah. And the rain reactivates it, right? I mean, every time it rains, it starts dripping her again. So,
and last year, we ran into a real dry spell here in Jersey, over 2 months, no rain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all you got to do is take the bag and go back and reactivate it, pour water in the bag, drop it in the bag and pour the water out, and you're ready to roll again. So the other good thing that really, it's easy to work with. It's great in one spot. It works when you're not there, but it'll last for 6 to 8 months, maybe longer. So a guy that's going to go and put out $15, $16 on a product, that's going to work 6 to 8 months out of the year for him. I mean, it's a home run. It's a home run.
That's great.
Making it affordable and lasting that long. Because if you just pour it out in granular form, it gets washed away or eaten quick or whatever it is, or just, into the ground. And you may not get the benefits of all of it. This just ensures you're going to get the benefit of it for a long time.
Okay. What is the product name of the preorbital that you sell?
Preorbital gland lure, either in paste or liquid.
Okay. Either
in spray, spray form or paste. Those are the only really 2 ways I would recommend using it. So that's how I've only made it available in those 2 forms. That's the best way. The preorbital paste, no matter what you do, it's going to last 2-3 weeks before it even needs application. Even in 2 or 3 heavy falls that come down, it really stays there a long time. And once deer find it, they know it's there. They just keep hitting it anyway. They just keep. So, like I said, if you're out there and there's no rain for a couple of weeks, you ain't going to need to even re-hit the area with the preorbital because it's there. And I've put it out when I first started making it in paste form, and I've had 3 or 4 downfalls after a 2-week period. Went there and it was still there. So I knew that I was onto something with the paste.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you make that, I don't want to get too specific or nothing, but when you make that, is your blend like every batch of it is exactly the same, or is there some differences in there? Like, would it be good to have like a couple of different bottles from like maybe made a little bit different batches or something like that? So when you go to refresh it, it's a different buck smell, or is your stuff, your batches are perfect?
There's 2 ways. There's an early season preorbital, and then there's a season preorbital, and then there's a doe preorbital.
Okay.
So when I sell preorbital online, it's a mix of doe and buck preorbital.
Okay.
But what I've noticed the difference is early season deer, you'll get some kind of reaction and the reactions that you want to get, and it works really well. Later in the season, I'll actually change up at home. So I'm changing from early season deer that I have the preorbital from to later season deer. Later season deer are more, they're rutting, and you're getting rut type smells. So as we go on from the late July, August into September, you're getting one product. The guys that order from October on are getting a different kind of product. It's a little bit more potent. It's a little bit more powerful. The buck part of it, the doe part of it. So that being said, I was making that for a while, and I had a couple of guys ask me, do you make like a doe preorbital? And I'm like, well, I can. I never really thought about doing it, but I can, so I got into doing that for guys. And what it was they were some hot does that were shot, and I was able to get, preorbital from them. And it really made a different product. So last year I had separated, and I decided to try and put it on the market and sell it as a hot doe preorbital. And that's really what it is. I added some different things into it, and it really worked out the way I wanted to, but it was kind of late and people didn't get the gist of it, the understanding of it. So I'll probably do it again this year, but the regular one's been doing so good, I don't want to confuse people any more than they already are when it comes to scents and lures.
So I'll tell you what. Go ahead, John.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that right there in itself has to separate you from a big brand.
Yeah.
When you're doing those adjustments for the people in season, that is, I mean, and you have no idea, other brands that have been sitting on the shelf since the year before or whatever, they may have some sort of sold on date or something like that. I don't really know. I never, really paid attention to it. But when you're making those adjustments and guys are buying them straight from you, that is to me, that is something special that you can do for guys, as a season moves on.
But it's not just that. I really go through everything like that. Like there's been times where I was doing my feed by hand. I'm doing them through a mill now, but I'm still able to change it the way I want to. But in the beginning of doing a feed, like, I noticed in a certain part of their year they're hitting this really good. Well, then I'll go from, dropping the oats and putting soybeans into it, because getting later in the season, they need more of a protein. So I was actually changing feed on the fly without guys knowing, and changing different things up as I go. I always found that works well. And that's what happens when you deal with one is a real lure maker, not just a piss salesman. You're able to do that. And then you got to understand, I really love what I do. So I have fun with doing it. And I want to sell the best products I can to guys. I want to see them get deer. The more deer that they get, they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and the products work. So the more that I do, I'm heart and soul into it, the more of it I get out of it. And at the end of the day, it's a business. You have to make money. But at the same time, it's not just geared off that. I like to see a guy send me pictures going, man, your stuff worked great. I'm so happy. And the store owners can't be any happy with me, because at the end of the year, I come to them and I take every single product that they have and I take it back. There is nothing sitting on the shelves. Not one product sits on the shelf. Zero. I take everything back, dump it all. Next year, everybody gets fresh stuff. I don't do what other companies do. You pay for it now and then you're stuck with it. I don't do that. Because at the end of the day, if it ends up being a bad product and it gets sold, my name's on that bottle. Not the guy who sold it. It's my name on the bottle. So that's the way I run my business, and that's the way I've been running it from day one, and nothing's going to change. And, I got two sons, one 15 and one 18, and I've been teaching them how to make everything and do everything. And, I got one in college playing college football, one in high school playing football and lacrosse. So things are crazy with me with the business, but I'm teaching them, and hopefully in 5-10 years, whatever time it is, they'll take it over and maybe they'll run with this whole thing.
That's awesome, man.
So one of the things I'll be honest, like back in the day, same thing, Tinks, I would use that, had some success, meaning had deer come to it, primarily like smaller bucks, but that just could be the area and my lack of knowledge at the time when I first started hunting. I did get a couple, I think it was a Hot to Trot and maybe Climax or maybe another one that I used, but like my game plan sucks when it comes to using scent. And I was just thinking as you were talking, like maybe if you wouldn't mind just taking some time to say like a new hunter's coming on board and put a game plan on how to best utilize this. I mean, I didn't even think of the fact to have obviously I know you want like a rut lure or a rut scent during the rut and stuff like that, but it seems like there's opportunity for scents throughout the entire season. Is that fair?
Absolutely. They're curiosity scents is mostly what's used, because when deer come into your area looking around or walking through the area on trails or whatever it is, if they smell something unique or different than what they normally smell, they're curious. They're a natural curious animal. They're going to come over and you'll know right away whether they like it or they don't. You'll know right away. So with these products that I got this year, and this is probably the first time in 5 or 6 years that I even got a scent. My thought was like, if I'm dragging it, am I really doing any justice to it because of my ground scent and stuff like that? So just from like a pure application, the best way to use it type of thing, can you kind of take us down that road? Sure. 90% of what I make has interdigital in it. Interdigital from the back hooves, which is where you get most of your scent. And that's what you make trails with. That tells a deer which way other deer are going consistently, and also pressure. So when I see a lot of guys that use drag rags, they work to some extent, but pressure works better. What do I mean by pressure? Well, I make boot pads. And you saturate the boot pads, and that pressure actually leaves scent spot to spot. Now, it also defeats the purpose if you're going to do a trail for 300 or 400 yards. We don't want to do that. We want to leave a trail from about 80 to 90 from your stand, from where you are to your stand. And what you'll do is you're like a fish hook. You come on the upwind side of it, walk around so that you're on the upwind side. So if a deer follows it, he comes on the upwind side of the trail. And then at the end of the rainbow is your scent wicks or whatever you're using to have it out there as an application, whatever you're using to keep it out there, whether it be scent wicks or cotton balls or whatever it is. And that's the way you use it. But interdigital gland is definitely one of the biggest glands, best glands that I use. It's very versatile, and you can use it with any of the lure making stuff. So when I'm making an early season lure, it's basically a curiosity scent, because what they do is they smell interdigital, and that makes them curious. So, I'm not going to tell you everything that I put in my early season, which is called Bring 'em In, and Bring 'em In for a reason. It's basically filled with interdigital gland. But interdigital is a funny product. It sounds great and everything, but you can only use so much of it, because if you overdo it, you can spook the hell out of them. So there's a lot of things I've learned over the years, and how to and what not to, and how much should go in, say, a 2-ounce bottle compared to a gallon, et cetera, et cetera. So, you can overdo it when you're using glands.
I think that interdigital you're talking about, I think deer communicate through that more than they do any other part of their body throughout the whole year. Like if you shoot at a deer, say you shoot a buck comes through and you shoot it and you stay in your stand because it's early or whatever, you stay in your stand for a while. Deer might come up that trail from where the deer came from, but right in the spot where that deer got shot, that interdigital is what makes them spook. The next deer in is like, whoa, what happened here? What happened here?
No, that's actually not it. You want to know what it is?
What is it? Dander?
Metatarsal. What happened?
Okay.
I've shot so many deer over the years, it's just ridiculous. So I've had exactly what we're talking about, the scenario. I've had a doe come in and I'd whack it, and that sucker would run away. 15 minutes later, a couple more does would come in, and exactly where they put their nose, they would bolt. They would get scared. And I always used to be like, well, what is it? What is it? And years later, it's metatarsal. When a deer gets shot, it squirts out a heavy load of metatarsal gland, and that is a warning to other deer to get away from the area, because it's danger. It's not interdigital. It's metatarsal. That's that other little one that's down there. You'll see it.
Okay.
You could punch it up online and look at it, but that's the one that actually sprays something out and spooks the heck out of them. I used to think for years it was tarsals. You never know. And then just trying it out, I've learned what to do. Like, I don't use metatarsal in anything other than my buck lure. Anything other than that is only metatarsal. But if I take metatarsal and I spray it in an area, the deer are going to get spooked.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, and I was asked this by some friends I have in Iowa. We were talking at length like this, and that came up, and they kind of brought up almost the same scenario as you did, where, well, maybe it's the interdigital. I was like, no, it's the metatarsal. I know it for a fact. I know exactly what it is. I've seen it happen, like you just said, a multitude of times. And since we in New Jersey have had the benefits of shooting X amount of deer for years, when I was in my 20s, I took a lot of advantage of that. So I've really learned on what scents and are really good to use, and how much you should use of each one, just tinkering around with it. But metatarsal is always your enemy.
Okay, good. That's good to know. I always thought it was the intertarsal.
Yeah, it's not. It's the metatarsal. So anybody that's listening, now they know. Now they know it's the metatarsal.
Awesome.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's another thing is like, we're talking about trailing and interdigital. Skunks have a lot of stuff that are almost the flip side of the coin to deer. So in a lot of stuff that I make, there is skunk glands in it, you could say. At least there are parts of it. Believe it or not, skunks are used a lot in lure making. When it comes to a lot of lure makers, it's a big part of it. Beaver, skunk, and deer itself.
Yeah, skunk is used in perfumes, right? That's the base for perfumes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pepe Le Pew wasn't kidding. You know.
That's great.
My age now.
Old Pepe.
But yeah, that's when you brought that up, I knew exactly where you were going with that, and I was like, it's metatarsal. So yeah, that's what it is. That scares them. If you shoot multiple deer in an area, that's what that spooks them.
I wonder how long that metatarsal sticks around in that area.
I'm thinking a couple days. Honestly, I believe a couple days or maybe longer. I mean, because I've had it where I shot a deer and a fox would come close and just bolt for no reason, not even close to it. And we know how sensitive their noses or coyotes' noses are. So, I think it's there for days. It just keeps the area really, quiet for a while. It's off. But I'll go with 48 hours to say, don't go back to that spot for a little bit, unless it's the rut and they're just kind of running through, but.
Yeah.
That's great. So you have a bear line as well, right?
Oh my God. And this state is just a disaster. I have such a good bear line, and they stop it on you, and it just hurts your business. And there's no other way to put it. And then last year's disaster, where we have one, we don't have one. I made all this stuff up, got it all into the stores, made sure I drove everywhere in like a couple of days to get it all out there, and then they hit us with that, and it kind of really hurt. I mean, it really hurt, and I'm pretty bent out of shape about that. So I'm hoping that this year will make up for it. They are talking about a bow hunt. So hopefully they'll do a bow hunt combination with a gun hunt in December. I think that would really help the hunters, the state, the bears, the population, kind of everything. So hopefully they go back. But I have a full line of bear stuff. I make some really good stuff, unique stuff, like an Oreo cookie flavors and glazed donut, and just attractants that are really good to spray over your bait sites or whatever else. And I haven't made a lot of it, but I do make a bait of my own for bears. I'm probably going to get into like the drip bags for deer, some type of drip bag for bears. Because it'll work. I know it will. Just got to change up the product inside a little bit. But I do a lot of good stuff with bears, and I've learned a lot. Like I'm not a huge bear hunter. We talked earlier about, me working on products, things that I actually do. Like I'm a big trout fisherman, and, I like to hunt turkeys a lot. Well, I don't get a chance to hunt bears a lot. So I try to get a lot of stuff out to other guys that are in bear areas and have them do a lot of testing for me. And I was lucky enough to hook up with some really good bear guys, and that really, really helped me. And I have some really good friends that work with me up in Saskatchewan, Canada, which has been, really fantastic. I have one person that shot 5 bears using the products up there, and she's a woman, and she's fantastic. But she loves it every year. She's just called me the other day to send her some stuff because their beer season's getting ready to start kicking off. Yeah,
that's what I was getting at with the spring's coming. With the trout and the bear. So there's a lot of things that guys should be maybe take a look at your website or something like that if they're getting ready to head up to some of the spring bear hunts they're getting ready to start opening here in a couple months.
Right, and then obviously I got involved with the Winsent company where they're making my lures and, tanks and their vape machines and all that kind of stuff. And this was the first year that I got in touch with them about making some bear stuff. So that's in the process. So that should be coming out within the next few weeks is Oreo cookie bear flavored for the Winsent vape units. That's really unique, and you can smell it really far. So, and it's all legit, all ready to go for every state it's legal in. So that's a big bear product that is coming out. Hopefully within the next few weeks. I'd really like to get it out there in the next few weeks, and they'll be calling me soon to get it out there, which is with them has been a great relationship with the Winston company themselves. They've been really good to me, and they're really fair, and they really get on everything. And there's a couple of guys I work with out there, Joe Coy and some other guys, and just giving them some, props because they've been really good to me.
That's great. That's real good. Yep. So, like you said, that's a good thing. I didn't know you were making calls too. I guess I should have did a little more research.
Well, I'm doing turkey calls. Absolutely. I love turkey hunting. It's been definitely something that I didn't do a lot when I was young. I did it a lot in my 20s because I had bought some property early on in 1994. And for 20 years, I had property up there, and the turkeys up in New York State were fantastic. So, I really got into it up there big time. And then had to sell the property. My partner passed away, who I owned the property with, and obviously kind of got away from it for a few years. And then once I started the business back up, I got into with some friends that were into it. And before you know it, I was right back on it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. So, with all that stuff, with you retiring, how long ago did you retire from the fire?
July 1st. This July 1st coming up will be 5 years that I'm retired. And
okay, so
the business itself was just getting too much with work 24 hours. And then the next day you'd spend the whole day filling orders. It was like work to work to work. It started to get where it was getting too much. And I recognized that. And I loved what I did for 25 years in the city that I grew up in. And, the city itself was great to me, whether it be, I know it's a big city and I know it's a crazy city, and we grew up really crazy, but it gave a lot to me. A lot of culture came from that city, and I missed the job. I do. But you start getting older and bodies change and lives change, and you need to go forward. So I went forward. I retired and I never looked back. I love the job. I miss it. I fought fires and I gave everything I could to that city. And I would do it again if I had the opportunity. But again, you don't, and we're all aging, and I recognize that. And, you know, my sons needed me, especially at the time, my older son needed me more with college football. I mean, high school football going on and wanting to play college football, and then so many schools to visit, et cetera, after he graduated, and him now playing college football. My younger son following the same footsteps as him. I'm glad I've had these last close to 5 years with them. It's been priceless. It really
That's awesome, man.
I love being a father. There's nothing like it if you're going to make your kids take care of them. That's always, you know, I didn't have the benefit of that. I had a grandfather who, you know, was more like my father. And that's where the hunting and fishing came from, because I spent so much time with him.
That's good. Yeah, so you're basically doing it. I don't want to say full time. You got a lot of family stuff going on, but you're able to put a lot more time.
Oh yeah, well,
now
you know, it's unique. I'm definitely able to put a lot of time into the business, which is I've expanded from 16 stores to 26 stores, and I just had one close, so it's probably around 25, and I'm probably looking to pick up another 5 or 6 stores within the state of Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. I've expanded into PA last year. I've expanded into New York last year, and there'll be a little bit more expansion in both states this year, and a couple more stores in Jersey. So I'd like to be between 30 and 35 stores. I think that's where my limit is for, you know, the business myself, before I would have to start hiring people and actually making it a full-time business where it's actually got people working for me. But for the most part right now, I'm just doing it myself. There's no help. You know, my kids will help me here and there. My wife helps me here and there. I got some friends that'll help me here and there with deliveries and stuff. But other than that, I'm doing it all myself.
So I'm curious. So you get a lot of feedback. You'll send some stuff. I mean, you mentioned sending some stuff out to Iowa and stuff like that. I mean, is there? I would imagine you probably have a handful of incredible stories with people trying some things out, trying new products out. And does anything come to mind like one of the most memorable stories in your 9-year journey in this business?
You know, there's a couple of routes you could take with this, but we'll go specifically with 2. And I hope I don't upset anybody, but when you have kids that may be sick or have some issues, those hunts that you send product to and you have people give you feedback on how it helped that child kill an animal, those are probably most, you know, being a father, those ones hit you. They hit you in areas that, you know, it's hard. It's tough to talk about. And then those ones are seriously ones that hit you home. And then it's always, I don't care what size deer it is, the guys who take their first deer. I don't care whether it's a 40-year-old guy or a 10-year-old kid. I just get that. Those are the ones that I don't care about the size. Like a lot of guys are like, oh, I shot this small deer. I'm like, I don't really care. You shot it. You're happy with it. If people have a problem with it, well, that's on them. You know, I don't really care. I can't look at a guy, and the way my business is obviously is I can't judge anyone for crossbow, shotgun, rifle, this. I appeal to everyone. I want everybody to buy my products. I want everybody to have fun killing an animal. I want everybody to appreciate what they do. And when I see the kids, though, obviously, or people that may have, you know, difficulties in life that go forward and go out into a field and do things they've never done before. Yeah. It's special. It's special. And my products have helped some people do that. And that's definitely something that I've always appreciated. The stories that I got sent back to me on a son who never hunted before. The father did. The father passes away and the son starts using my products, and now he's killing deer using them. There's been a lot of different things. And over the years, it's been so many. There's been so many stories. It's just like, you know, one after the other. And the ones that stick out are always the first deer and the young people that are, you know, have difficulties in life and they go out and kill a deer, you know, whether it be in a chair or whatever it is. It's special. Yeah. Those are special.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Awesome.
That's real good. So you probably have like local guys there's a lot of Jersey guys that hunt out of state, maybe go Midwest, they draw their Iowa tag or something like that. So you probably have some guys, local guys that have taken your scents to other states. Do most of them have some pretty good success in other states?
You know, that's the good thing about it is, you know, social media allows you to touch places that you never could. And that allows people from other states, obviously, to buy my product. So I've had a lot of success with that. Even when the synthetics first kicked in Jersey, I still had a lot of guys that would be ordering urine-based lures. In the beginning, I was like, hey, this isn't for the state. It's synthetic now. And they're like, no, I'm going on a hunt to New York, or I'm going on a hunt to Pennsylvania. And after a while, you kind of were like, well, the heck with this. I'm not going to call every single person every single time. It just seems that everybody is doing other things. So there's a lot of guys from Jersey that hunt our state. They enjoy the benefits of hunting the state, but they do go away. Guys from Jersey spend money. And when it comes to hunting, they go. I mean, I was out on a little bit of a trip out to Maryland with my son, doing some lacrosse games that he had out there. And man, the people from Jersey that you meet are out there hunting, or know somebody from Jersey that hunts. It's just all over. And Delaware, they hunt everywhere. Jersey guys really get out and hunt. I'm really always appreciated that, as Jersey guys they're some hunters. They are hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take it serious.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, I see more and more. And what I do like is and I'll say it, I love to see guys who are letting them pass. I do like to see guys let them pass. I've been the non-passer for years, and then as you get more into it, you start being the passer, and you start appreciating the animal a little bit more, and start appreciating, hey, what can I do to grow these deer a little bit more? And that I do appreciate when I see guys passing deer now. But it's few and far between, depending on where you go or who you're dealing with. But at the same time, as long as guys are out there having fun, that's really what my business is based off, is making a guy smile. I brought some deer in and he killed it and he's happy as hell. And that's really what it is. I mean, the stories like we talked about, John, is, you can go on and on with them. And the ones that hit home, they always hit home. But those ones right there as a whole, it's just a great business to be in. And if you're a people person, it's even better, because you get to talk about things like this, and you get to express your feelings about things like this.
That just something came to mind. We recently did a podcast with Aaron Ritter, who does Limitless Outdoors. So he's lost his leg in a bad accident, and his whole thing is that he has a grant, and he's doing the same thing, going with people, other folks that have lost a limb, to get them out, and get them out into hunting, whether they've hunted before or new to it. And he was able to set up a deal, if you want to call it that, with a big outfit in Texas. I'll send you his contact information. It sounds like your heart's right there. I mean, I don't know if he has something set up with as far as a scent line goes or anything like that, but I'll give you his information, and maybe something can work out there.
And bringing that, you brought up Texas. It seems like a lot of guides in Texas, I guess that's what you call it, they seem to do a lot of stuff like that. A lot of the guys I've talked to, and I've done the Pennsylvania show for a few years. I've done other shows for a few years here and there. And you get to talk to a lot of guys, especially at the PA show, because it's so big. And a lot of guys do that. You see a lot of them having those pictures up with, vets that have lost limbs, which is obviously appreciative of vets that are having issues, or maybe it's just kids that are sick or people that are sick, whatever it is. They definitely, I see a lot of that from Texas. I do. I see a lot of it from guys in Texas.
He's actually an Eastern Shore guy. But
really,
he was just able to land, I guess, based on just relationship wise, that is probably a small ranch,
right,
speaking in Texas terms, but still a ranch. So
everything's bigger than Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'll tell you what, Gerard, we're coming up on that 50-minute mark. We usually like to keep these things relatively, between that 45 and an hour. We're very appreciative of your time. We want to be courteous of your evening. I know last night you spent some time with your family and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for squeezing us in tonight. Yeah. One thing I would have to say is, for all the Jersey guys, the New York guys, and the PA guys, when you're going in the shops this year, if your local shop is carrying any of the things, the spinners, the trout lures, the turkey calls, the scents later on in the year, if you're getting ready to go on a spring bear hunt, buy a bottle of it. Give it a shot. Yeah. You know what I mean? Gerard seems like the kind of guy that if you're spending a few $1,000s on a bear hunt, I'm sure he would probably take your call and go over what the best way to use it up on a bear hunt or something like that. You seem like you really, really give that support to your customers.
I talk to them all the time. Whenever I can, or any questions, everyone's important in my business. Everyone's important. Everyone.
Yeah.
Whether it be 1 bottle or 50 bottles, everybody's important. I've come to learn that, and I'm not a business guy by any means, but morals and just being smart about it, everybody's important. And I never not take a call down. And if I see a guy place an order and I don't think what he ordered is correct, I call him on the phone. Tell him, listen, I want to change this. I don't like this for what you're doing. And a lot of guys really appreciate they're not wasting their money.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So people can buy directly from your website and also at the stores here locally, right?
Yeah, they could buy in PA, Jersey, New York. I'm expanding it to New York even more. Ratgettersense.net is the website. Any questions, my phone number's there. You can shoot a text and give me a call anytime. And I take every call. I talk to everyone about any of the products. So if there's questions that people have, I'm there 100%. And I stand by everything that I do and make.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Sean, why don't you take us out, man?
Yeah, Gerard, thank you so much. And for those listening, look up Gerard, look up Ratgetter Sense. And like we always ask, rate the show, share the show, and go read Genesis 27:3. That's what it's all about. Until next time, we appreciate y'all listening. We'll see you.